Welcome to another edition of News Bites here on Daily World Television. My name is Kal Korff and I'm your host. British Prime Minister Theresa May has called for snap poll elections in early June. Permission for her to conduct them will require, however, that 2/3 of the members of the British Parliament approve her request. Now, why would Theresa May want snap early elections? The answer is simple. In a parliamentary democracy system, when you call early elections, it means that you're trying to beef up your support and get rid of some of your opponents, or it means that you're trying to go ahead and shore up your power or, again, sideline your opponents. In the case of Theresa May, she is confident that she can strengthen her political position, which will have to happen if she and her party is to get their way in the upcoming Brexit negotiations with the rest of the EU to leave the European Union. There is a hard date for March of 2019 for those final terms of the negotiation to get underway, because the process of leaving the EU requires about 5 years worth of time, and the turmoil that the British government has gone through since the surprising result to leave the EU happened last year, and of course most people in London were against that decision, but they're forced to live with it now. One of the other things that has happened with Theresa May is that ever since she became Prime Minister, left to clean up the mess that David Cameron, her predecessor, essentially created, is that they have tried several different moves to get what they wanted. For example, Great Britain has asked the EU if they will continue to have the freedom to have British workers work within the EU without the need for cumbersome bureaucratic paperwork, being treated as foreigners. The EU has told Britain, no, if you're not a member of the EU, you will suffer accordingly. There's the issue of Gibraltar. Both Spain and Great Britain claim sovereignty over it. So what happens if Britain is pulling out of the EU? The EU has ruled in favor of Spain on that and says that an EU Commission has given Spain the right to veto anything, for all practical purposes, that Britain may decide going forward, since they're not going to be a member of the EU. There are also the sticky issues of importing food, of currency exchanges, of right to travel. All of these, again, must be negotiated. But the EU's position, led by France and Germany, is strong and stout. The message to the British is this: you decided to leave the EU. You will be punished accordingly. You will not be granted all the perks and privileges that EU membership has, for the only reason that ultimately matters. You're not going to be a member of the EU.